We got him. We'll clip it for Christmas.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a special meeting of the Salisbury City Council on December 16th, 2019. I'd ask everyone to please silence any electronic devices that make noise. If during this meeting an emergency should arise, please calmly proceed to the nearest exit. Exit the chamber, make a right and go down the hallway, down the stairs. If that exit is blocked, please make a left-hand turn, a right-hand turn, and go down the stairs. If you need assistance, please ask and it will be provided to you. Please do not use the elevators if there is an emergency. At this time, I'll call for a moment of silent meditation. Thank you. Please rise now and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the special meeting agenda.
Second,
Mr. Boda, Ms. Gregory.
April Jackson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
April.
She beat me to it.
I have two females on my right, so it's one of you two, so. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2574 for the second reading.
So move.
Second.
Ms. Jackson, Ms. Gregory. Good evening, Mr. Tillman.
Good evening. This is ordinance number 2574, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving a budget amendment of the FY 2020 General Fund Budget to appropriate funds for the fire department's vehicle repair account. Whereas the fire department has the need to maintain its fleet by performing regular maintenance and repairs, and whereas the fire department has experienced a substantial amount of unanticipated repair costs, and whereas the fire department has reviewed the expense records from the last 6 years, and whereas the average annual expense for vehicle repairs and maintenance has been $168,262.34, and whereas to cover the current and expected cost of repairs, the fire department is projecting a shortfall of funds in the vehicles account for the remainder of 2020. And whereas Section 7-29 of the Salisbury City Charter prohibits the city from entering into a contract that requires an expenditure not appropriated or authorized by the City Council, and whereas appropriations necessary to execute the purpose of this grant must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and approval of 4/5 of the council of the City of Salisbury, now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salisbury that the city's fiscal year 2020 budget be amended as follows. Increase the current year surplus by $75,000. Increase the fire department's expense vehicle account by an equivalent amount.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2574 for the second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. There being no other business for this meeting, the special meeting of the Salisbury City Council, December 16th, is now adjourned. We will now proceed with the work session. First item on the work session is the employee handbook amendments.
Good
And
evening.
you can come up here if you'd like.
No, there's no chair.
Oh, we'll get you a chair. Sorry. We don't get that formal, so.
Well, you received the information in advance.
Yes.
Thank you. As to what types of changes we're looking to make in Chapter 3, which has to do with, we want to change the 8 and 12% increase automatic that would go to either police or sworn fire either one, because over the last 2 years, both have developed a new wage scale. Some of the increases are already built in, meaning there is an 8% in between each layer. So if you go from grade 3 to grade 4, it is an 8%. Some cases, it may not quite be 8%, it might be 7.5% from this grade to this grade. But in the police department, instead of being a 2% increment on a one step, it is like a 2.25 or a 2.3 or 2.5. It's just the way the numbers rolled out. So that if they just stick to the rules where
If you stay in your
Yes.
classification, you get 2%.
well, they would automatically get a 2.25, police would. Because their steps are that much different from, say, step 1 to step 2 to step 3.
It's
That is-
I didn't
may I
know-
just jump in? So that the pay scale is just a different pay scale. So they would follow the scale. It's just the math
Yeah.
is not as simple as 2, 4, 6, 8% as it is in the traditional pay scale for the other city employees. So it's clearly defined. It's just slightly different as it's built.
It may be a little bit higher, none of them are lower. 2 years ago, we developed an entirely new wage scale for the city of Salisbury Police Department. We needed to have a wage scale that was more comparable to where our competition was, which included Maryland State Police and the Wycomico County Sheriff's Department. And we were able to make that move and adjust the individuals who are currently here and those that would be coming along into a much higher pay scale.
Right, but my question is, if they remain in their same pay scale 1 year to the next and
It's
don't
just
go
one
up a pay
step.
scale,
It's one step.
so they get 2.5 every step, every year, they get a
Yep.
2.5.
It could be 2.25. Some of the steps are a little lower than 2.5. But where they're getting it going this way, if they go up into a higher grade level, we don't want them to have an automatic assignment of an 8% or a 12% increase, as is identified in the employee handbook for the normal administrative wage scale. Theirs is set up, and in some instances, if you go from one grade to the next, it's only a 7% increase. It's not a full-blown 8%. And it just is the way it rolled out. When you start making those kind of changes, sorry about that, you start making those kind of changes to a large scale like that, and you have an end goal of what you want, to have a more competitive wage scale with Wycomico County Police Department and also the Maryland State Police Department. These are the things that you have to do. We also dropped the steps back from 30 to 25 because they usually are retired at 25 years. If not, they can go into the drop program and work another 5 years. But those were the changes that were already made in the wage scale, which had been adopted by and through the budget. We want to correct and update the employee handbook to make sure that it isn't an automatic 8 and 12% or 8, 12 plus if they go up a grade. We want them to stay in the scale, move with the scale. If you're a grade 7, step 5, and you're ready to be promoted, then you would go to a grade 8, step 5.
What do you do with somebody that reaches the highest step?
That's the end of the road. That's
So that's their,
That's their
do they get
plateau.
Do they get then 2%
they get nothing.
annual?
Once they hit that spot, that's, until we change the scale. If you were to move the scale, adjust it, say for cost of living or for, wage compression, if you would say get rid of step 1 and 2 on this end, because nobody's coming in at that stuff. And you add,
No, I'm looking at it more towards the person who decides that this is where they want to be. And they don't want a promotion.
well, we do have a couple of areas where they have an opportunity to go up just a tiny bit more, and that's if they're in the master, like a master corporal, master sergeant. We do have those layers built in.
Yeah, we added those 2 years ago.
And that's if they're not looking for promotion, but you are looking at that individual as someone who is leading a group as far as how to handle themselves.
Well, when they reach that master certification, those are the people that, are the mentors or.
Of the others.
Training and, they're the
They set the
leaders.
tone,
Yep.
and
Okay.
that particular increase can also be taken away if they do not meet those standards and continue to meet those standards.
Okay. Other questions?
I know in here, we're taking out the part of where, and I think we've discussed this before. When somebody is working in an acting capacity.
Yes.
That it's just gonna be approved by the mayor. Which I think with that, I'm okay with that. But I think do we need to do anything in here? Like there's in parentheses, it says this contradicts the charter for the appointment of.
You are gonna have to,
Excuse me, Muir, what line are you on?
he's jumped a
206.
paragraph for me.
Two paragraph 200, line 200.
Yeah, 206, line 206.
Yeah, it's in the charter, so it would have to be changed.
But if it's a temporary,
Well, is it in the charter for when somebody's in an acting position?
I don't
Or
think
is it
so.
just the charter is just
I
talking
think
about?
the charter talks about appointments of
Appointments
directors.
Yes.
Like directors?
So I'm not sure it has to get,
Well, I had legal look at it.
When, my opinion was there has to be some limitation, because if you can appoint someone as acting forever, their charter means nothing at that point.
We'd end up,
okay.
I'm not worried
Fine.
about,
Just- You can just stop.
I'm not
I
even
get
worried
you.
about the
I
6-month
got
piece.
you.
What
I
I'm
got
worried
you.
There
about
just has
is
to be
the,
some limitation
I got
approved
you.
by the
Yeah.
council.
What are you
Okay,
worried
now,
about?
On somebody who is an
Advice and
acting
consent
chief of
from-
police or an
Yes,
acting.
a direct, yes.
you know why
So
it was
it
done
makes
in the
sense, because
past.
we, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
some
It makes
director
sense.
got put in
Let's leave
a
it.
acting position for over a year
Yeah.
and wasn't given consideration for
We've
a
had
full-time
that,
position.
we've had that before.
But we
with,
have not had it since then.
Yeah, and that created havoc.
It
So
did.
let's not go there again.
But you also didn't have a human resources department at that time.
All right, so we're gonna need to make a, change.
Okay,
Just
it's
for
going
those
down.
Just
positions
the
that
positions.
require approval of the council for
Fine.
an appointment.
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
you'll see some changes coming with the charter. It's clear. Let's move along to the
We
next.
also wanted to move it so that we didn't have to wait 30 days to give someone an increase on the 31st day. I mean, they're automatically stepping up to that role. And in many cases, this is not the first time that they've done it. If there has been other promotions, they may have had to step up and maybe did it while someone was out on leave of absence or something like that. We don't want them to have to wait 30 days to get an increase.
The question that would come up then is, if they're not permanently appointed, they go back to their original?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, as soon as the individual who is hired to take the position is announced, we have a date, one steps off, one steps on.
Gotcha. Okay. Good. Go ahead.
And the last thing that we're asking to change is the maximum amount of comp time hours that we carry at any given time in the Munis system.
That's on line 314 through 3.
We want to jump from 120 hours max to 160 hours max.
The truth is, many people have been carrying in the many hundreds
Yeah.
for a long time, and it's just tough for people unless they stop doing their job. It's tough to use them. And if somebody were to say, "I'm going to go ahead and take this 300 hours now," it would put us in a bad way.
Right.
So 120 just seems to be unrealistic to get people down to, and 160.
Right, when the state of Maryland allows them to do 440 hours is their max.
Well, I think also that it's healthy and a positive thing that people, when they get their comp time, should
Use it.
take some comp time.
Should use it.
Yes, that's why we don't
As much as
cash them
possible.
out,
And that's good.
because we want them to take
They
their
need to
time
get
off.
their
They
time
need
off.
to
Deserve
get
their
away.
time. Absolutely.
Right. So those are the changes that we'd like to make
Okay.
to Chapter 3. That's been one of the chapters since our mayor arrived. We've had a steady change, and most of those changes have been viewed as an improvement for the organization. That's what we want them to be, and we want to continue to be able to make those adjustments as needed.
Gotcha. I've got, ladies.
I was reading something.
Oh, okay.
I want to be clear on something.
Okay, do you have questions for the thing?
No.
Okay. Okay. You've answered my questions. Angela, any questions? You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay, yeah.
Okay, you all right?
Ask mine.
We got consensus then to move forward?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Gene.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Get your candy canes.
If we get more cavities.
Okay, next up, Mrs. Miller, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening. So the city currently owns a parcel on the corner of Ann and Short Street. It's 407 Ann Street. The building used to be called Linens of the Week, was housed there. That was demolished. Their warehouse portion was demolished. The city doesn't feel that they need to retain this parcel for any municipal use. So the thought has been to declare it surplus, to allow the city to sell the parcel. There's an interested party that has approached us to build a playground on that lot.
Good,
I have no problem.
very good.
But would the city still own that lot? Or the?
No, we would sell it.
Sell it, and
Yes.
then they would own it and maintain it?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. So we have two options. First, we would have to have it declared surplus, and then we could either invite proposals or put it up for auction sale. It's very easy to put out a request for proposals, but if you would like to do an auction sale, we can do that too.
Mr. Mayor, preference?
I don't think we need to decide that here tonight.
No?
Um,
Okay.
Just, whether or not on a surplus.
Surplus first?
There are some issues that we probably want to talk about in executive session.
Okay.
Or we need to put into a request for proposals to clarify some expectations that we have, that the city has. And I'd love to have that conversation, but
Good.
in closed session.
Okay, we will get that on the agenda.
And it's been completely remediated too, right?
Yes, to my knowledge.
Is the real property search here, is that I'm assuming the property we're talking about, 407 Ann, the value?
I'm sorry?
I see the one here, we have a real property search for 407 Ann. So that's the current value?
Assessed value, yes.
Assessed value,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm sorry, Muir, back to your question. Remediated, I'd have to check into that completely demolished, yes, there's no more
Yeah,
buildings
But I know
there,
that there
but
was some.
Phase one.
remediated, I'm not.
I don't think so. I mean, because
I
that
don't-
was
I don't
part of
think
the
there
reason, that was part of the interest, or the reason why buyers were hesitant in
Yeah.
the past, in spite of the fact that the remediation plan, you know, cutting and capping is not that difficult. It's, you know, it's a cost. And then there's just the stigma associated with it, you know, putting housing on, you know, people will, whether you've cleaned it as much as you can clean anything and whether or not it's safe, especially where you're not drinking water from a well or anything like that.
Right.
you know, It's possible that just a stigma causes, you know, in the case of housing, people not to want to buy it or
Yeah.
not to want to live there. Now, a playground is a different animal.
Yeah, playground is very similar to what we did on North Fork.
Yeah.
So,
Would we have to, if it was a
North Pole.
playground, would we have to
Right,
change the
North Pole.
zoning?
No.
No.
No?
I just remember a few years ago, there was, and I can't remember if they applied for it or they got a Brownsfield grant or if it was ever, but this was like 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, I don't
that
think we ever
recall the
remediated
discussions
it.
about
I
it.
don't remember,
Um,
no,
You said 70 years ago.
no. 7 or 8.
7 or 8.
Oh, I
Seven
you
or
said
eight.
7, I'm
70.
going to say Mary.
7 or 8, I mean, it was a different council, different mayor, but I
I was
remember
2.
the conversations.
Well, we know we're good with the playground,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are.
so, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have consensus then?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Very good.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next discussion is on rules of order. I'm sure that everyone made themselves aware of those. Any questions before we get to 2 new discussions about the rules of order?
I know that, you know, we've had some discussions about public comments at work sessions.
That's one of the new ones, yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Well, you do it now.
And in here, it does address it where it's,
Yeah, as I read this, the same rules apply in terms of public comment. The president or vice president, who's ever presiding, can limit the amount of time that a person has. One of the recommendations that Ms. Glanz actually had was, during a discussion we had briefly, just the 2 of us, was to prevent the back and forth and repetitive questions and length of time, so there is not especially on a subject matter that might have 15 or 20 people here. The recommendation was to hold the comments similar to what we do towards the end of the work session and allow 1 comment, 1 period for comments, so that we can think about it and discuss it, as opposed to getting to the actual scheduled meeting, council meeting, and then taking comments, but we've already made our discussions, our decisions, because we've reached consensus from the previous work session. So I think it's covered here, and then the only thing that I would say is I think that we should limit it to the same amount of time, the 4 minutes that we talk about during regular council meetings. Does that suit everybody, or?
yeah. I mean, if it's a topic specific, which is,
Yeah, it has to be specific to
So,
what we're talking
I
about.
guess the question becomes, if it's a topic that we're discussing, do we allow comments like at the end of, when we're done, before we do consensus, or you just kind of want it at the end of the?
No, I would do it, the item A comes up, comments about item A,
Okay.
and that way, if we want to revisit it ourselves, we can. We still have
Yeah.
time. Because you leave it to the end of the meeting, it's like the council meeting, and what are we going to
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
So
Okay.
I think that's what I
That-
would suggest we
Yeah,
do,
yeah, that's a good idea.
okay? Everybody?
Mr. President, is it still going to be comments rather than a dialogue? You guys will be able to choose if you engage in a back and forth or just receive the information and,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's not going to be a dialogue between, because that could turn in,
Right.
you have, like I said, if you have 15 or 20 people here, which we've had on occasion, and I think the same rules should also be applied, that if they are in support of, and they're going to say the same thing, or they're against and say the same thing, the person would be allowed to say, I support what that person said, or I disagree with what that person said. Okay? So it doesn't appear like there's anything, should we put in, Mr. Tillman, do you think we can, the way that it's worded now would work in terms of how it's written?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
pretty flexible now.
As long as we're, yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get to the point where we're limiting everything and, you know, causing somebody not to feel like they can say something.
And there might be some evening when everyone agrees that it's appropriate to
Yes.
extend that.
Right, right. Okay, so I think that takes care of that one. Are there any other things that you've read that you're,
I
want to make a comment on?
Yeah, I wanted to comment about 10, the procedures for security at city council meetings.
Yes.
Is that something that's been being added? Or has that always been there?
That's always
It's
been
always
there.
been there.
Okay. Is that currently happening?
Has that been happening?
Yeah, I mean, are they coming here and sweeping in the hallways and the stairs and for security or whatever?
They're not, I don't think they're sweeping.
I mean, not sweeping,
They're-
but making a sweep of the area.
They,
Usually sit right
they
there.
sit outside the door,
Oh, okay.
and if we need them, and then we follow the procedures that are
Oh,
in
I
the
see,
conduct.
I see.
Anything else regarding the rules? I'd like to spend a couple minutes talking about protocol. The protocol that's been established needs to be followed relative to any of the council people, including myself, that wish to speak to a department head about a current topic that is specific to your district or the question that you might have. And the protocol is really simple and is very easy. Prior to contacting the director or staff, all you need to do is notify either the city administrator or the deputy city administrator, and just say to them, listen, I have this issue, I'd like to talk to Amanda, or I'd like to talk to Chief. And just as a courtesy. And then I have never been denied, ever, being denied my ability to talk to anybody.
We only deny Muir.
There's usually it's a problem when
It's a joke.
It's a joke, okay. I thought something I'd have to gavel, but that's all right. So I would appreciate it if everyone followed that, okay?
It's the sweater.
I mean, like, sometimes, and I mean, what I typically do, and I don't know and sometimes just in the interest of expediency, if I do send something or a concern, I copy the mayor, Julia, Andy,
Yeah,
or Jack.
that's the same thing.
At the,
Yeah.
just, is that fine?
Can I just speak to, not to get into your rules of, the council rules,
Sure.
right? But that achieves the same thing. I think that's the only intent is to, ensure that, the administration knows what's going on.
Right.
I mean, in our form of government, that's important, and,
And I'm not talking about, and I'll give you an example from me. I was a fireman, and I knew Chief before I was on the council. And if you see somebody out in the thing, and you're
my
talking to
goodness.
something personal, that's not an issue.
goodness.
Okay? We're talking about city business,
Of course.
and we're talking about an item that requires a response from one of the direct staff.
Yeah,
Okay?
absolutely.
So is this new?
No,
Nope, that's always been a rule.
that's always been a
I've
rule.
never known it.
Well, in our, so just to be clear, so everybody understands, in our form of government, we could always change it, but given how we're currently operating, we have a strong mayor form of government where the staff works for the mayor. And, so we can in our current form of government, there's a clear chain of command. They've got a boss. They've got responsibilities to a supervisor, and that's why we have one point of contact officially. And I've delegated that, and we've delegated that to the city administrator for council communication. It has nothing to do with wanting to restrict information or, you know, it was the same rule when I was council president. And so just given the structure, it's important to maintain that order, you know, so long as we have that form of government.
Whenever a new council member comes on board, I have a meeting with them, which I did.
You didn't tell me that.
Yes, I did.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah, I did. And because I just had it.
You might have had it with her, but you didn't have that same.
No, I had it with Angela. I had it with you. I've had it with everybody, and if you forgot, that's okay. But that's what I want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're all operating under the same rules. Okay?
And we're perfectly comfortable with, you know, Muir's
Just a
example
note,
or
'cause
Jack's example,
that's-
whichever.
Yeah.
You know, I think all of that is fine. I mean, again, you're going to have things that come up that you need answers to all the time.
Yep.
It happens with each of you every day. And so we want to get you those answers as fast as possible from the subject matter experts.
Okay, anything else on the rules of order? The only thing that I think maybe is this, I'm not asking for us to do this now, but I think that one of the things is there are a bunch of procedural things that are here. And usually when you have a rule of order, you have to watch yourselves somehow. And it's great to have a rules of order, but there's no consequences in here if you don't follow the rules of order. So you might want to think about that for a future discussion. That's not on the table today, but it might be at some point. Okay. Any other questions about that?
Yep.
Okay. Council representatives on city boards and commissions. I handed out someplace, here it is. I handed out, based on feedback from everybody here, because we've had some changes, the list of committees and commissions. The ones in my column, if you look at them, the planning and zoning, the town gown, and the SWAMPO, Salisbury Wycomico Metropolitan Planning Organization, those are, they're the president automatically gets signed those. And the other one that I'm on, the other two that I'm on, are essentially PAC 14 and the zoo. And the reason for that is the majority of the council, a lot of the council work, and it's hard to make those meetings. And those meetings are at strange times, which would make it hard. But there are a couple of committees that don't have representation, and I really don't want to take on any more.
I don't think you should.
Because I don't know. So the ones that are open, as I look at this, the sustainability and youth development. Okay. Does anybody have a driving desire to be on either of those two? We need somebody on.
Do we know what night they meet? I just am going to be opening up my Thursday nights for the Parks and Rec one. So I emailed them about that. Because traditionally I had been
Parks and Rec?
not available. Does anyone know when the youth development one meets by any chance?
Yes, 6 o'clock?
5
o'clock. Yeah, 5 or 5:15.
Oh, what night?
6:30.
At night.
Typically on Tuesdays. the
Tuesday
first
night,
Tuesday.
usually, first Tuesday.
We may be scaling back to quarterly rather than monthly.
I wouldn't mind being on the youth development.
You have to spend time with me then, if that's okay.
Oh, is that the case? Let me think. Let me change my mind. No, I don't mind being
What
on.
is entailed with the youth development one?
It's a large group, 30?
Large group of people who are just interested in any sort of youth programming or initiatives. We talk primarily a lot more on community centers of late.
Yep.
And then anything that we're doing with our Youth Civics Council,
I gotta find
Leadership
it.
Academy, maybe
Library
some youth
is-
sports, some
This
different
is
topics that
Thursdays.
surround youth predominantly.
I
6.
mean, I wouldn't mind doing that.
Tuesdays first.
You wouldn't mind doing that?
I wouldn't mind doing that at all.
Okay,
That's-
so
that's
youth
right up my
development,
alley.
Michelle will do youth development, that's good. I don't know when sustainability meets,
Green team.
the green team. It used to be noon. That's when, I don't know when they
I can
meet.
find that out.
Can you find
Mayor,
out? Do you know when they meet?
No,
Sustainability?
That's why I asked the mayor.
Mayor, do you know when
When's the
sustainability?
When does sustainability meet, do you know?
He got all the answers.
Except no.
Oh,
I'll figure it out real quick.
Last time was-
I want to say it's third Thursday.
We used to meet in engineering.
God. Parks and Rec.
No, it wasn't noon. It was like 6 o'clock,
They meet the first Wednesday of every month at 5:30.
5:30. I knew, yeah.
First Wednesday.
First
at
Wednesday.
5:30.
Anybody?
I can't do that. I'm just actually switching in the new year to Wednesday nights instead of Tuesday or Thursday nights
Well, if
for
it's
the private
more
practice.
convenient and she's interested in doing the youth development, I wouldn't mind doing sustainability either.
So do you want
I could do youth development
All right,
because that'll be a night
so
that'll
let's
be
do
open
youth-
for me.
Then Angela, you do youth development, and Michelle, you do sustainability, and we got it covered. Good,
Okay.
Parks and Rec.
excellent.
Tuesdays.
It's
Parks and Rec are on
Thursdays.
Tuesdays.
It's Thursdays at
Thursday.
6.
Yeah, Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my,
Sustainability is.
you got traffic and safety.
Oh, it's at Parks and Rec. It says it's third Tuesday.
Traffic and safety, the reason I gave you
Yeah,
that,
that's Tuesdays. I know, 'cause I used to be on.
I'm on
it.
traffic and safety. I thought I was on Parks and Rec. That's
No.
what I'm signed up on the
here's,
website.
here's why I changed it.
And every Tuesday.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
glad somebody said something.
Hold on a
because
second.
I was going to the Parks and Rec
What
meeting.
about
Hold,
bicycle, is it pedestrian?
Hold on one second, please.
the reason I changed it, Angela, is because you work,
Uh-huh,
and
okay.
I know you had trouble making it, so I switched it, and then,
And then I switched my schedule to meet that, and then, okay. That's okay. So when does traffic and safety meet?
Never.
on
There is no
call.
traffic and
I
safety.
was on
It's-
for 4 years, we never.
It's enough, they do, they
That's when you
still,
wanna get to.
technically, it's still there, but they only, I heard it's on call.
I thought we extinguished it.
No, we, because, what's his
There's no one
name?
appointed to it anymore.
Oh, I thought that the same guy was.
Human rights.
Safety?
Hold on.
That's it.
BPAC is first Thursday of the month at
First
5:30.
Thursday.
Oh, so then,
Human
traffic and
rights
safety,
is,
that's because they never met, so you're off the hook.
Okay, but do you want me to go back to the parks?
No, that's fine.
No, are you sure? Because
I got it.
I gotta find out when the library
I got
meets.
She's got it.
All right,
So
all right.
how come you have something here that says City Park? But City Park is under Parks and Rec.
yeah, well, that's been changed. I mean, so this is,
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
just
you have your own city
outdated.
park. Don't you have your own city council now? The city park?
Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee is the committee that exists. We do
Right.
not, there is no
Okay, you don't
city
have-
park.
Okay.
Okay.
That was eliminated long ago.
I took this off the old list that I
Second,
had.
second Thursday at 6 of the month
Is when?
is human rights.
Second,
Yeah.
second Thursday.
Second Thursday,
And what time?
6.
6 P.M.
Bicycle, first Thursday at 5:30.
And Parks and Recs is the mid-third. Probably the third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday at 6.
Good.
When
We're
is
in-
the
we're in good
library?
shape.
They're gonna say she's back.
Does anyone know when the library starts? The library
what?
meetings are?
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, what time, Boda? So you can be there.
All of the times,
I
by
got
the way,
work,
are
so-
on the website now.
Oh, are they?
They're on the website.
All right, I'll look it up.
Okay, cool, yeah.
And the airport is.
All right.
I'll forward you the.
I was looking
All
for
right.
the disability.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay with that?
Oh, yes, I love it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we're all set. Last item on the agenda this evening is the meeting dates.
He's a social butterfly.
And Kim will hand them out and talk about them.
The last meeting was just on the 12th.
Are they still on Mondays?
They still are on Mondays.
Okay, good.
At 4:30 for the work sessions, 6 o'clock for the meetings.
Okay.
You see them,
Disability advocates get
there's
chatty.
nothing changed.
No idea.
Hey,
If there's a holiday on a Monday, then they're typically on a Tuesday. It's pretty much the same as last year and the year before.
Okay.
And the budget meetings start, just so you know, because we're going to need time there. Usually get the budgets to us March 1st. No, April.
It's like,
It was a nice try.
what in the world is he talking about?
I can try.
He's trying to twist my arm there.
That's it. I just tried once. Around April. Okay, April 1st, and we're usually finished by first week in June. Second week in June, maybe. But so just be prepared for that.
Consensus?
Yes. Do we have consensus on the dates? Okay. That's got to go on next January the whatever.
We just need
The first meeting.
consensus. Yeah,
Okay.
we don't have to have a resolution.
Anything else for the good of the order? If not, everybody have a wonderful Christmas and enjoy.
Make sure you go see Star Wars this week.
Oh, no.
I'm going to see.
Spoilers, first
no,
person to spoil me on that. I'll tell you what.
I've never been to
I'm going to see Midway.
I've caught up on Mandalorian.
Mr. Mayor.
And just a reminder, city clerk sent out a message today, but campaign finance forms are due Friday. Just for everybody.
Mine's in.
Friday.
Mine's in, right?
Just get that done, everybody.
No meeting Monday. next
No
month.
meeting Monday, correct. Okay, nothing else? We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, the chief.